What an extraordinary moment that must have been to be a part of the story we just heard in the gospel. Jesus, just with people starting to hear about him and flocking to see him and to hear his teachings, and then the powers that be starting to hear about him too. I mean, his family was already in political hot water. His cousin had just been beheaded by John the Baptist. And then also in the reading just before what we hear today, Jesus does one of those things that's one of the most famous stories of the Gospels. 2 fish and 5 loaves and feeding of thousands. And maybe you remember there were baskets full left. But our gospel takes place afterwards in sort of a private time. Jesus sends his disciples off in the boat, and he goes up onto the mountaintop to talk to Jesus, to talk to God. When I imagine this, I can just barely imagine how Jesus kept his balance in all of the things that he was dealing with, the growing fame, the political stuff, the danger that was growing, and the responsibility just for getting these disciples ready. It's just so much for one human being to carry. Jesus must have needed to stay in conversation with God. And although the disciples are having a hard time with the wind and the waves, I mean, Jesus seems as though he's come down from the mountaintop conversation with his head on straight. He's just ready to act. In fact, the Jesus part of the story just seems like it's no big deal. Jesus walks on the water towards the boat. That's it. Now, he has to talk those disciples down off a major fear ledge, and that seems like the bigger deal in this scripture. And Peter's Peter. Lord, if it's you, command me to come. And Jesus says, come. And Peter comes. I mean, walking on water, he comes. And then, as the gospel tells us, Peter notices. He's so us. He notices the wind, the heaving water, the fact that he's walking on it. Peter kind of gets in his own head, and he starts to sink. And this is where Peter maybe has it more on the ball than some of the rest of us. He asks for help, and Jesus literally gives him a hand, along with a little bit of a talking to about the state of his faith, which, I'm hearing that as tough love, because Peter's going to have to go ahead to some difficult times, and he maybe needs to notice different things. But Jesus and Peter, they work together in this moment of Peter's flailing faith to get him back on that boat. And the other people in the boat, those disciples who are in the boat and freaking out after the wind calms down, these acts that they've witnessed, they testify to these acts. Truly, you are the Son of God. What a story to have lived. I mean, what a recognition to make. The Gospels were lived experiences. You okay, honey? Okay, good. And the teaching that came out of those experiences, I mean, those teachings turned the people who heard them upside down and inside out, so much so that they had to pass that teaching on. The thing is, sometimes it's easy to close the Bible on those Gospels and think, well, that was then, this is now. The days of mountaintop conversations with God, walking on water, having Jesus say, come, and we come. Those days are over. They don't happen anymore in 2017. Yes. Yes, they do. As my favorite billboard says, God is still speaking. God is still speaking, and we are still living out the gospel. Let me tell you a story. Every summer, when our high school youth are in Appalachia doing home repair, we have this dinner midweek. It's called Thanksgiving in July. It's a tradition. And we invite all the families that we're serving, and we invite the staff for Good Neighbors. That's the organization we work with. And we celebrate with turkey and pie and all the fixings. And this week's cooks, this year's cooks, Betsy and Alice, I mean, they outdid themselves. Now, we were staying in this new place, and there was not room for the 40 or 50 people who wanted to come. So we moved dinner to this park down the road, just this lovely, huge green space with sort of a cover for the picnic tables and mountains all around it and a beautiful sky above it. And we had a celebration, man. Our youth were playing with the little kids from our families, and there's groups singing and playing the guitar over there, and a bunch of different groups chatting with each other. And, you know, I have this sweet memory of one of the little kids in our family, I think it was, you know, with this paper plate full of pie with whipped cream on top of it, just walking so carefully to her table. Now the evening's winding down and the sun is pretty much set, and most of the families are gone. And our youth are having some sort of an ice throwing contest. I will tell you, it is amazing the creativity that transpires when you do not have your electronic devices. Yeah. Well, one of our youth is wearing a particular ring on this occasion. It's a ring that has special meaning in her family. And at some point, the ice gets thrown, the fingers are cold and wet, the ring slips off and goes flying, and it's somewhere in that green expanse, and we have no idea where it is. It doesn't take too long before, you know, everybody knows what's going on, and we know how distraught our dear girl is, and we are all trying to find that ring. Preach. People are down on their hands and knees, literally, and somebody suggests taking off your shoes and feeling for it with your feet and toes, and that becomes another tactic. And then somebody suggests putting the car headlights on, and other people have flashlights, and some of us are lighting the grass with our phones, and some of us have our reading glasses on, because there is no way in heaven or hell we are going to be able to find that ring without them. Was I the only adult with her reading glasses on? When I say it was a group effort, I tell you it was a group effort. Idea after idea came up, and we tried them. Somebody was using this magnetic roller that Larry, one of the carpenters from Good Neighbors, had in his truck, and we were looking at the patterns. This was Mark's idea, the patterns of where the ice had been thrown. We even looked behind where she had been throwing. I mean, it was fully dark, and we had combed our way inch by inch over just yards and yards of dense green grass, just as far and as wide as we thought she could possibly have thrown that ring. And maybe for each of us there were moments when we got in our heads and we noticed, like Peter, all the reasons why maybe despite our best efforts, we were going to sink. I don't want to speak for anybody, but is anyone up for admitting that they had thoughts of giving up? I know that I had the thought that I didn't know how much longer my knees could handle this. And maybe there were also those thoughts that were unspoken. We are never going to find this ring. We should probably give up. But you know, when your sister is distraught and when your brother is on the ground next to you hunting furiously away, and when your phone begins to die and a light just shows up at the end of someone else's arm to guide your way into the dark, you know you tend to keep going. There's something to be said for the faith of others in communal life when yours might be failing a little bit. I'm not really sure how long we were looking. Someone tells me it was hours. But Larry, we kind of think of him as the Dalai Lama of contracting. So when he talks, we listen. Larry said, you know, I'm pretty sure Jason has a metal detector down at the warehouse. Was the ring the right kind of metal to work with a metal detector? What kind of detector was it? Just because some just work with magnetism. Pretty soon we're calling Jason, who runs Good Neighbors, and he's saying yes to this late night meetup with Mark and Thane at the warehouse to get the detector. Just so many yes ands. Just keep us going. And they head off. We keep looking. They get back to with the detector. Does it need new batteries? Oh, yeah, maybe. New batteries appear in another set of hands attached to another set of arms. And we methodically sweep a first section of the grass from the bench to the pole, from here to the bench to pole, here to there, you know, just people standing on either side to represent the width of it, you know, so that these people over here would then move over there, and Thane would try the next area, and Thane just methodically sweeping with the metal detector, and everybody is looking and listening and noticing things so acutely. More ideas. Is it working or just randomly beeping? We test with Mark's wedding ring put under the dirt, under the grass. Yeah. And we do hear it, this little bit of beep, 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 that identifies Mark's ring underground. So we just keep on, hands on the detector, hands holding the flashlights, hands digging through the grass and even the ground, just waiting for that next little bit of beep, 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 beep. And everyone is in their own way praying. And then someone thinks it's a good idea to look in that pile of ice again, and back we go to behind the place where she was throwing, checking out this pile of ice under a tree. Beep, 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 beep. Fingers just scramble through the ice and the grass. Ah! We are jumping up and down. We are laughing and crying, hugging, just dancing. What was lost has been found. And someone says, it's like that parable. What is that parable, Betsy? How convenient to have a catechist, an expert on the parables, right in our midst. There was a rush of answers from a variety of different people, and mutual agreement that there were a number of parables about things being lost and found. A sheep, a son, a lost coin. And I wish I could remember the order, but really, who cares? Because someone said, turn off the headlights. And someone else said, look at the stars. And someone said, let's lie on the blacktop to see them. And someone said, Betsy, tell us the parables. And so it was that we were all lying, butts to blacktop and eyes to heaven, with a sky so clear that you could see that Milky Way. And Betsy was reminding us of the parables most of us had learned in the catechesis. The Good Shepherd who loves his sheep and would protect them against anything. And when one sheep is lost, the way he leaves the other sheep to find him. And then the parable of the lost coin. And then, what's that one about the pearl? Well, it isn't about anything lost, but it's about something found. And Betsy continues how when the merchant finds the most precious pearl, he sells all he has and buys it. And somebody says, it's like we're living a parable. And then just in case we have not quite put it together that we're in the midst of mystery, just in case may have missed that, the brightest, longest shooting star I have ever seen cuts right across the center of the sky. God is still speaking. And we are still a part of the conversation.